All right, everyone, we are live. So, I am ND Sean 45 of the Two Irish Brothers, and unfortunately, Ben is a little under the weather for this episode. So, joining me is a special co host. He is our good friend and colleague from over at Shakedown the Thunder Sports. So, without further ado, please welcome Mr. George Bashura. George, how have you been, man?
Pretty good, Sean. It's been pretty crazy here. Um, a lot of different things going on in Notre Dame sports, and yeah, I'm hoping for some normalcy really, really soon.
Aren't we all? I mean, I know there's some places that have gotten rid of the mask altogether, but yeah, the sooner we all can get these masks off, the better. I hear you on that one, man.
Well, to kind of play on that part, a little bit of normalcy is that some of the spring sports have opened up, and when I say opened up, is attendance for player, guests, family, and the media. So, as a matter of fact, today I was at the Notre Dame Georgia Tech baseball game. So it's been kind of a hectic afternoon.
Yeah, I believe that. You want to talk about hectic? I'm a Cubs fan, so I know all about that.
So that's just the life of a Cubs fan. That's I'm not a Cubs fan, but that's all I hear from a lot of people.
And they'd be right. They would be right. So, George, getting right into it, talking about some Fighting Irish football here. As you just mentioned, spring practice is well underway for us and all the other programs in the nation. We weren't able to have a spring game last year. I think there might have been some schools that did, but COVID put a stop to that pretty quick. But
Yep.
so I think we're on, I think, what, 7 or 8 practices now on the spring schedule.
Yesterday was, I believe, practice 7, and they've made more progress this spring than they did last year, as you were just previously saying.
Yeah.
So, as Coach Kelly said a couple weeks ago, they had one's practice and they were shut down. So every practice after this now is a bonus.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm sure it feels good for these guys and the coaches to get, as you were saying, some normalcy back in the schedule, and we can actually start to build guys up here and get them some significant reps. But with spring practice, the one thing that I want to talk about while you're here with us, and Ben and I have discussed this a lot on our recent episodes that we've been doing. The number one spot, quarterback.
QB
Now,
one.
yes, QB1, QB1, and of course, as we all know, the top three guys are grad transfer from Wisconsin, Jack Cohn, Drew Pine, and Tyler Buckner. And then I guess you could throw Ron Paulus the third into the mix, but those are our top three. And my very early quarterback prediction was Jack Cohn. I think he'll be the number one when the Florida State game rolls around for opening weekend for us. But from what I've been seeing is all these guys have been looking pretty good in camp, for at least from the limited video that we've been able to see. So since you're right there and in the thick of things, what's some news you're hearing about the quarterback battles?
Well, it's as Coach said a couple weeks ago. It's Drew Pine's job to lose. He said that Drew Pine had the time last year in the book. He's had the most time. Um, Tyler has been trying. Tyler Buckner's been trying to come along, but he didn't play football at all last year. So you're
Yes.
talking about a guy that he's got to get back into the swing of throwing to guys and getting back into that next level of speed, which is college football. So you got that there, but then you got Jack Cohn. It's an interesting mix. You have a sophomore quarterback, who was the understudy of Ian Book. You have the grad transfer in Jack Cohn, who came out of the Big Ten, and you have Tyler coming in there who played at high school. So You have a guy that has experience, a lot of experience in Jack. You have Drew, who was an understudy, but had some plays, but he knows the playbook. And you got Tyler, who needs to get up to speed. So it's a very interesting situation going on, but it's also, I'll be honest, it's very difficult to tell from video, the 3-minute B-roll video that we see, what is actually going on.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I forgot where I read this at, but somebody said that, who knows, man, for all as good as these guys have looked in these clips, they all could be throwing 15 interceptions a practice.
And in one of those B-rolls, you saw Jack Coan throwing an interception. So that was the segment that they threw in there. So you're seeing limited video, and I was thinking about how I was going to come out and talk about this.
Right.
But I'm going to be straight up, because you're a straight up kind of guy. Right now, it's all conjecture. It's all prognostication. And until we're in front of these guys seeing what's going on, and that may not happen either. The first time we see them in real play action may be, when they face off against Florida State.
So you don't think that they'll televise the spring game?
Well, the spring game is going to be televised, but you got to remember, the spring game is a scripted activity.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that part, yeah, because you're playing against yourself.
You're playing against yourself. It's a scripted. They know the plays they're going to run, and they're not going to have some guy, throwing 50, 60 yards and then get an injury. You know what I'm trying to say? If one of those guys has the capability, and besides, you want to hold that for a game.
Yeah,
I don't want to tilt my cards on national television. Well, Peacock.
Yeah. Right. You're not gonna give out your whole playbook in the spring game. That'd be foolish of any coach to do that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's very fair. I mean, we have very limited footage of seeing these guys in action, in complete action. All it's been is scrimmages and 7-on-7s, and you can't really. Yeah, you can see plenty off of that, but you can't see the overall picture.
I think what you got to look at is what Coach Kelly says in the press conference.
Yeah, I mean, he would know. Of course, the head coach is going to know his guys, better than anybody, better than any fan, better than any sports writer, you name it. But if to have a little fun though, I said very early on that I think Jack Coan will be the number one guy come Florida State. But if Brian Kelly's saying it's Drew Pyne's job to lose, then that makes just as more sense, because he's a few years younger than Coan. He knows the playbook. He's had a year to study it, despite the fact he only got, I think, 12 reps all last season, something like that. And then this is something else that a few people have been dogging Ben and I on. They're actually thinking that we don't want Tyler Buchner to start, which is absolute, just complete nonsense, because we've said it from day one that any guy who comes to play for us, we're in his corner. And just at the end of the,
you got to remember this: the college game plays at a different speed than high school. And for a kid that a kid did not play high school football his senior year, you can't give him the keys to the Corvette. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, exactly.
Then people would be saying, well, then Kelly makes the wrong decision. It's let the kid get some time under his belt. Let him get some reps. He's going to get his reps with the teams. He's going to get his chance to practice. But the key is this: you never know when you're going to get called on in a game. Yes. And that's what's called being game ready. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, and we've seen that in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw it with Brady Quinn when he first burst onto the scene in 2003. We saw it with Ian Book, obviously, in recent history. Yep. And
Joe Montana.
Yeah, Joe Montana.
Go way back. The coach didn't even want to play him at the time. He says, no, he's my third string guy. And what does he do?
He plays him. He calls on him. He
So
calls them.
stuff like that happens. Your starting quarterback goes down, the next guy in line goes down. You better be ready. You better be ready to go play, or the team's in trouble.
Yeah, damn right. Because a quarterback is that's the center of the offense right there. And if you don't have him ready to go, you're screwed. But I did want to say this though. That's exactly what Ben and I have been saying about Tyler Buchner. If he's able to impress this spring and somehow becomes a starting quarterback, we're not going to complain about that.
Yeah.
Because in that case, he had earned a spot. He did what was asked of him. But just being an outsider looking on the inside, myself, like you just said, he hasn't played football in well over a year, like actual competition. All he's had is practices and workouts and stuff, and that's not the same as an actual practice or an actual game. So with the college level being completely different from high school, it's going to take him some time. So essentially, I think it comes down to a battle between Jack Coan and Drew Pyne. And same thing with Drew Pyne. If despite my prediction of Jack Coan being the number one guy, if Drew Pyne gets that job, I'm not going to be unhappy. He earned his job because with this quarterback position battle, it's just like the movie Highlander. There can be only one. At the end of the day, there's only room for one guy to be that man. And regardless of who that is, we're going to be happy with whoever it is, and the other two, be ready.
So, Sean, this is where people have a struggle in separating themselves. Okay, one, everyone's got to be right. Your opinion doesn't count. Okay, and we're seeing this in more than one arena nowadays. Okay.
Yeah.
It's your opinion, and you are way entitled to it. All people got to realize is they need to take a step back and look at the whole picture. Because if Coach Kelly makes a decision and he makes the wrong one and he goes with what the fans say, which we know he's not going to do, okay, then we just need to sit back and it's healthy for a quarterback competition. I mean, Ian Book being given the reins last year because he had earned it. He was captain, right? It was 2 years. The last 2 years, Kelly did not have a quarterback controversy. He knew who QB1 was. And the last time that I was down at Culver Academy was that first season with Ian Book. He goes, "This is the first time in my tenure here at Notre Dame that I don't have a quarterback controversy." But having the controversy, it breeds greatness.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's definitely a good problem to have when, you have quarterbacks that any one of them you can rely on to bring into a game.
You have to be, because if you go back a couple of years, I'm trying to remember who it was. But anyway, it was between Deshaun Kaiser. Remember, that's what it was. Deshaun Kaiser and Malik Zaire. Malik would sit there on the sidelines when Kaiser got the call after he had gotten injured.
Yeah, I remember that game.
He would sit there, and I was in the stands. I was not in the press box at the time. I can't remember where I was exactly sitting, but I was in eye shot of the Notre Dame bench. Okay, on the home side, and all that Kaiser did, all that Malik Zaire did, was sit there, and he wasn't standing up. He wasn't calling in plays, and you can't have that. If you don't have a headset on and you're sitting on the bench with your head between your legs and you're sulking, it's a catastrophe.
Yeah, I mean that's just the sign of somebody who is basically just sour grapes, and that's actually not a maybe this is too strong a word, but that's very cancerous for a team.
Well, it is, and that's where this team has grown. And if there's one thing that I have seen in the time that I've been in the media and covering Notre Dame, starting that 2018 season, the activities and the mindset of Coach Kelly is very different. Okay? Gone are the days of the player doing what they want to do. Okay? They're going to participate and they're going to be involved.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to help that guy out on the field. You're just as important as he is.
You have to know what's going on.
And so, yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you don't know what's going on, and thankfully, in that game against Virginia, Kaiser did get ready to go because, I mean, well, I still remember that injury to Malik Zaire, and that was nasty. But
Yep.
thankfully, despite his sulking, he was able to come in and finish the game, and we came out of there with a victory.
But you that just carry over to the next season, and that's where one of the problems lied with that team. It was the defense was horrible. It was more of an individual thing at different positions than it was a team thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see when that as you're calling cancer got out of the locker room, what happened with the team.
Yeah. Yeah, and but thankfully they got that out of their system, and then the next season, 2017, it improved, and it's been pretty good ever since.
Yep.
So we've had that really good group, and so yeah, nothing really to complain about. And just 1 second, George. I know I look kind of distracted here, but I am trying to get a few things taken care of here. There's because I accidentally blocked some people that I didn't mean to.
Oh.
now I feel terrible. Because that's the thing, but Ben and I still have the trolls that show up, and but we just kick them to the curb now. Don't even worry about them. But yeah, in doing that, I accidentally blocked some guys that I didn't mean to. But all right, I'm not going to worry about it now. I'll take care of that after the show. But anyway, George, another position that I wanted to talk about in the spring battles is the corner situation. Now I've been reading a few reports that it's looking like Tariq Bracy and Cam Hart are probably going to be the starters, but it sounds like Clarence Lewis might be in the mix there. But the one concern, I forget which article it was, but they were saying this is from quote the article, not me. But they were saying that the only reason that Tariq Bracy was starting last year is because Clarence Lewis was unplayable. And what are your thoughts on hearing that?
I gotta be honest. When someone inserts their own opinion on something like that, and it's not backed by a fact or solid evidence, I just don't. I don't get into that conversation. Sorry, it's just it's an opinion. Once again, someone makes an opinion, they put it in an article, and that's what makes it. That's why it's so hard to write in the off season. You're given a little bit of information on Saturday, and then you got to figure out by the B-roll and the pictures that you see what's going on.
Yeah,
but in the end, let's be honest. Coach is going to play who's going to do the team right in that situation. He said that about numerous players, whether it's academic wise or other things. He's going to put the best team out on the field, and
yeah.
I just won't go and make a statement like that. That's just it's a tough thing to say. They're college kids. They're learning the game. It's a totally different thing from high school.
Oh, absolutely. And I wasn't trying to ask about what's going on behind the scenes or anything like that. I just I read that in the article, and like you said, I know everyone's entitled to their opinion, and the old saying, opinions are like a-holes. We all have one. But I gotta say, some opinions where it's an article that's damn near just trashing the kid. It's and that's not what the whole article was about. It was just a report of spring practice. But again, if they're just going off the video clips that they've been watching, we already covered that at the start of the show. You can't base it all off of that.
And I'll be honest with you, that's the hardest thing to write an article on. I could sit there and I could talk about what coach said, but I can't make a judgment call based upon a video that I'm seeing. It's 3 minutes long and it's edited. So, it's this, that's the way it is. Someone's going to write an article. They're going to put something in there that's going to be clickbait. And as long as they're getting the clicks, that's what they're trying to do. They've sucked you in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I just think that's a real crappy thing. I mean, but of course, unfortunately, we know there's articles that get payment for every click. So I mean, that's how it goes. But getting back to the actual playing of the game itself, it does, in my opinion, I think it will be Cam Hart and Tariq Bracy to start off the year as the two starting corners. But do you see Clarence Lewis getting some significant reps in there?
I do. And there's going to be, you got the Amendola brothers, right? I think I just really butchered their name.
Yeah, no, I know who you're talking about. You're the two brothers on the defensive line, correct?
Yep. And it's going to be interesting because there's just the one thing that's great about Notre Dame is that they could bring a guy in, and they proved this last year on defense. They can bring a guy in on defense, and he can play just as good as the guy next to him. So what I've heard coming out of the press conferences is that there's a lot of different things going on at different positions, and it's a guy not going to just play one spot, and that's a very smart thing, by the way.
Yeah,
for a coach to cross train an athlete to play multiple positions, because then one, it's good for the player, right? And then, God forbid you have something go down at another position, you have that chance to backfill. And now, that's not something you've heard a lot coming out of Notre Dame in the past either, is typically you had guys designated to one particular spot, and that was it. But cross-training now, you could stick a guy in a package where they're expecting one guy to be there, and there's somebody else.
Well, I think the best example is Houston Griffith. They got him playing both safety and corner.
Well, the bigger news about Houston Griffith was talking him out of going into the transfer portal.
All right. Well, I'm just saying, going off of what we're talking.
Exactly.
About here.
But that plays into it. It's situations like that you talk the guy down off the ledge and you bring him back. Everyone's going to get a chance. If you can put the work in, you're going to get a chance.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, speaking of Houston Griffith and Coach Kelly talking him to come back and from the transfer portal, I like how honest he was with him. He just said, "Hey, listen, Houston, we can't promise you anything, but we think your best opportunity is to continue playing here for us." He was just straight up with him. No promises, no guarantees. And he decided to come back, which you don't really see a lot of that, because usually once a guy enters the transfer portal, he's history from that program. Well, you don't see that too often.
Well, and it all comes back down to that one thing. It's all about respect. And, the coaching staff has a lot of respect for these guys, and they wouldn't talk him back into the program if they didn't think there was a need for him. Because typically that's how these guys go the route of the transfer portal. They said, "Hey, how much time am I going to get? This, and this." And then they make a decision to transfer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and also a player like Houston Griffith. I mean, he is, a guy with his talents. I mean, you got to make sure that you try to keep him any way that you can.
I just think that you make the opportunity best for everybody involved.
Oh yeah. And I guess And I guess with the whole cornerback situation in general, is my concern is it looks like it lacks a little depth back there.
You know what? There's a whole lot of folks gone. You lost some of your big guys on defense. You lost some of your big guys on offense. There's a lot of depth missing on both sides of the football.
That's true. That's true. Very much indeed.
It's tough. It's tough when you put 12 or 13 guys into the NFL, that are trying out for the NFL, and you're pretty much split an offense and defense. So
yeah,
it's just the retooling like everybody else, and that's why it's important to cross train. You got to be able to fill those losses, those voids, with the folks that you have.
Well, I guess one thing I forget too is this is only the spring. I mean, all our guys aren't there yet.
Well, no, and that's the flip side of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're talking Tyler Buchner because he came in early.
Yeah, exactly.
So only thing that he's getting a head start on everybody else is that chance to, to get to learn the playbook sooner. But these guys on defense at the corners and the defensive ends and stuff, they're gonna get their chances. They're gonna get their chance to learn. But everyone just puts so much on spring ball. It's you're not the full strength. You're in your I look at it as this is your conditioning and getting guys who are not used to the speed of the college game that opportunity to see what it's really like. High school, you're hitting people your own age, basically your own weight. You're going to gain 25, 30 pounds, hopefully, in muscle, by the fall.
Oh, yeah.
And coach has been, I believe it was Coach Bayless had talked to a couple of the incoming freshman parents and said, you're not going to recognize your son. Come the fall, you're not going to recognize him because he's going to be bulked up and filled out.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen that a few times where, where I grew up, we had, parents with children who go off to college to play football, and hell, even when I saw them when they came back, I'm like, oh wow, who are you and what? Well, I know who you are, but what the hell happened to you?
He got conditioning. He got nutrition. Nutrition and the fact that he's eating, on the university's program for athletes. So,
yeah,
and you're spending a whole lot more time in the gym, and you're not hanging out with your buddies after school. There is no buddy hanging out after school, maybe on the weekends.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it becomes your life when you get there. It becomes your job, because I've had a couple of friends go to down to Western Illinois and to Northern Illinois, a Husky and a Leatherneck respectively. And yeah, they were putting all this time in the gym, and they come back for winter break, and I'm like, I do not want to piss you off. But no, they were freaking jacked. They had my one friend was like, man, I got a ripped stomach. I've never had that before. But it's definitely a big difference with that training and that conditioning at the collegiate level. That's for sure. But with spring practice in general, and maybe this is just a fan talk in here, but oh, and by the way, Notre Dame 2164. If you're still watching, I was able to figure out how to unblock you, dude. So my apologies for that. But spring practice, and this is just a joke as a fan, but I always saw spring practice as just something to hold us fans over until the actual football gets here.
That's pretty awesome. One, the media guys will say, yeah, it gives them a little bit of a bone to see what's going on in practice, but think about this. I look at it as practice for everybody. The team gets worked out, the media gets a workout and getting into doing different things and getting into press conference mode and prepping. So it's really a process for everyone to practice what they need to do.
Yeah.
Because you got to be able to, you need to be able to put on your A game when it comes time for that first game in September or late August.
Well, and this year in particular, the one thing I'm really looking forward to the spring game on is to see how Drew Brees will sound behind the microphone.
Yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. I'm going to miss Tony Dungy, by the way.
Tony Dungy was great. Don't
Oh
get
my
me wrong.
God, he was aces, and everyone was complaining about Tony. No, he was an NFL coach. He knows the game, okay, and I don't think he was biased. I think that he was neutral,
Yeah.
and I think it's good that there's not a Brady Quinn or somebody like that calling the game because I don't need a guy gushing over a Notre Dame team. You want to hear the truth. You want to hear unfiltered truth.
Well, and look at Drew Brees. I mean, he played his college ball at Purdue.
Yep.
So that if he can be biased of all people, behind the commentators behind the commentators box, more power to him. Because let's face it, it'd be easy for a guy who played for one of Notre Dame's rivals. It'd be easy for him to bash them, without hesitation.
Oh, absolutely. But and they've already got on Drew Brees about him, gonna be giving Notre Dame tough love. You know what, folks? It is what it is, and you know what? The players don't listen to it, and I've learned that over the last couple of years. They don't. Ian Book this year and late last year learned to turn off the fans and the insulting and all this other stuff that he got from the haters. Okay, but he became a better quarterback once he was able to turn that switch. It became a non-issue, and Coach Kelly's the same way. You know, Coach Kelly has a job to do, and he's being paid to do what the university wants him to do, and that's be competitive. And after going 4-11 or whatever it was a few years ago, okay,
Yeah, 4-8. Yeah.
4-8, whatever, folks, just enjoy the ride. They're doing better in the recruiting. They're doing better in all these other things. Just take it one day at a time.
Well, and I'll just never forget that. I remember you had me on your show the day of the ACC championship game, and Ben and I had done a couple of live streams leading up to the Rose Bowl, and I got to tell you, it was just amazing. I've never tried to be. I mean, I know that when you got a show like ours here, I know the last thing you want to do is badmouth your fan base. But when we were seeing all the, not just on here, but all over the place, so like it seemed like half of our fan base was actually upset that we made the playoffs, that they were so unhappy about all because we were playing Alabama. And it's like, we just made the playoffs. We just made the playoffs, and you guys are unhappy about it? Who cares who we're playing? Give it your absolute best and enjoy the ride, like you said.
Sean, the part that you got to remember, and you're going down the right road, is that there's people that are living their lives vicariously through these players. That's the story. Okay,
that's true.
The people will say that this university owes them a championship, and that's it. No, it's like everything else. We're talking about this woke generation, okay, or this me generation. It's what can you do for me?
Yeah.
The school is giving them a education. They have an opportunity to play football, okay, and that's why they're a student athlete. They have the stress that those guys are under is that they're auditioning every week that they're on that field. They're trying to build up their stock for the NFL. Okay.
Yeah.
And like the Reese's Senior Bowl, certain people get asked to go to the Reese's Senior Bowl. Okay. Notre Dame had five other great players that could have gone. They sent 7. They have 13 going to the draft, but those are the guys whose stock rose, that it was the NFL is consulted, the NFL teams are consulted about guys that are coming to the Reese's Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because that's where the draft starts. So, it's hard for people just to understand that they're there to play. They're there to try and do what they can do with their career after the University of Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good way that you put it about some of these fans living vicariously through the players and through the school and all that. Basically, kind of like the people who, it's almost like jealousy because like these are guys who are getting to do something that they could never do. I could, that's just one example, but
No, it's spot on.
But what was I gonna say? But it's like when I hear people from our fan base screaming at the top of their lungs, "Fire Brian Kelly! Fire Brian Kelly!" I mean, I get where the frustration is coming from because we're getting to these big games on the major stage in the playoffs and / national championship game before the playoffs were a thing. I get it. We're not getting over that hump and winning those big games. I understand that. But at the same time, you can't ignore all the good things that have happened under the Kelly era, too. I mean, we're coming off another 10-win season, and that makes 4 years in a row. Well, this is the first time in Notre Dame football history that that's ever happened where we won 10-plus games in 4 straight years. Not even Knute Rockne was able to do that.
An undefeated season once again for the first time, for the second time in 3 years.
Yes, that too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to put a little bit of sugar on top of that.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. No, add on as much sugar as you want to that. So all I'm saying is there's so much good going on there, and it just amazes me that so many people would want a guy like that fired. It's like, okay, if you don't like him, if you don't like his personality or whatever, that's fine, but you can't ignore the job that he's done on the field.
Well, here's what it comes down to, okay? People don't want to leave following being a fan, right? And then Notre Dame wins their championship. It's them holding on to, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make it difficult. I have to be heard some way, somehow. Well, sometimes the best way to be heard is to say nothing at all.
Yeah.
If people realized, if people didn't complain as much, and then you sat there like, when you start making people think, why aren't they complaining? The hard part is you can't. When they lose, they complain, and when they win, they complain. So really, it becomes noise.
Yeah.
They cancel themselves out.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. That makes a lot of sense.
You sit here and and then people will talk to you about what about recruits and stuff, where the folks coming in, whatever. If I hear the fan base beating up the players, do I really want to send my kid to that university?
You made a great point that I've been making, that I've made a few times on these streams the past couple episodes, and even on my own channel when I had a guest on. Now, granted, these kids who are being recruited out of high school, I mean, yeah, sure, they're still, even though they're highly recruited players, they're still young and dumb. They don't pay attention to everything. But I guarantee you, as young as they are, these 17 and 18-year-old kids, I guarantee they pay attention to that factor. I keep talking about, our fans selling their tickets to those 2 major games, which is becoming a broken record, I know. But you think those kids aren't going to notice that? And think like, hey, well, why would I want to come and play for this school when our fans are just going to turn on us and badmouth us all the time? You think they don't notice that?
Before I started writing, Sean, okay, before I was engaged in the media, okay, this article came out. There was a full page ad in the South Bend Tribune, okay, about the football program being a failure. Now, I keep this here because it comes up in different conversations, okay? It's these are the folks that go out and spend their money on this, is why I wouldn't send my kid to the school. I want my kid to go there, do his best, get an education, and hopefully make it to the NFL. I don't want to put him in a situation where people are coming out and saying this stuff.
Yeah.
Because they're not only going, it's not after the coaches, but they're going after the players too. Those are the folks directly affected by this. The adults can figure a way through it. The kids, it gets into their head.
Yeah. And of course, I'm sure the excuse that the people who write that would be, oh, well, this is the real world, kid. This is the real world. I'm like, well, if you're a fan, then I would like to think that you would actually help this kid out and guide him, not just kill him off completely.
We all just got to let this whole process work. The process is getting better. Okay.
Well, yeah. Well, and this next thing I wanted to bring up, this is kind of two different topics in one here, but kind of continuing with this thing with our fan base. I remember when Selection Sunday happened for the college football playoff, there was a video that went viral, and it was of this this woman who was a Notre Dame fan. She was watching the selection show, and when we popped up at number 4, she did nothing but huff and puff and was all sad. But then Rocco Spindler, who was an early enrollee at Notre Dame, an offensive line prospect, I think he's looking to be probably a tackle.
Yeah.
He shows a video. He posts a video of him and his family watching the selection show. He sees us pop up at number 4. He's celebrating and cheering and screaming loud, going, "Yeah, go Irish, go Irish!" And I'm sure he's probably went to games before as a kid, because I knew there was like a connection between his grandfather and Notre Dame or something. But still, though, recruit wise, this is a kid who hadn't even suited up for the team yet, and he's excited, he's happy, he's thrilled. So that says it all right there. That's what I think our fans need to be like. Not this, oh, I'm a realist stuff. I mean, I heard that word realist one too many times.
Well, like I said, everyone's allowed their opinion, but when you look at the whole picture, you know what? Notre Dame's a very difficult school to get into. They don't have the tiered education acceptance like the other colleges do. And it's very interesting to see the data about those schools that allow X, Y, and Z level of student athletes into the school. Okay, Notre Dame, you're going to have guys come out with degrees from the School of Business, from Mendoza School of Business, or they're getting their master's degrees through the School of Business. Meanwhile, you got the other guys, being in those press conferences for the Rose Bowl. He was making it all about him. It was all unprofessional. And so when you look at the caliber of player that you get at the University of Notre Dame versus the caliber of player personality-wise that go to these other schools, and I'm not going to say the schools, okay, because there are schools that are reputable. But you can figure out the ones that are not reputable. They have a lot of wins, but they just don't have the character behind it. Okay? It's night and day. Who would I hire if the kid doesn't make it in the NFL? Who am I going to hire? Am I going to hire the kid that carried him and says team, and it's the team before me, and that's what it's all about? Or the other guy who's quoting some actress because she said something about him on Twitter?
It's ego written all over it.
It's you're a prima donna before you even go into the NFL.
Oh, hey, we got a message here. Hey, Ben, what's up, man? Ben wanted to pop in to say hi. Hope you're feeling well, buddy.
Hopefully I'm doing you good here.
But in addition to that, since I brought him up, Rocco Spindler. Now, this is a kid who I've liked from the start, ever since he announced his intent to come play with us. But from what I can tell, his heart is all in it. I personally think he's going to continue this trend of great Notre Dame offensive linemen. But my question to you, George, Could you see Rocco getting some starting reps this in his freshman year?
Once again, there's a lot of gaps to fill. You just lost one of the top offensive lines to the NFL draft. Okay, you have guys that have been here forever, and they were offensive. They won the title. Is it the Joe Morris? I believe it was the Offensive Lineman Award. Okay, they won it, and then they were a finalist this year. Okay, those guys kept, for the most part, Ian Book off his backside. Okay,
Yeah,
there's a lot of responsibility coming in with regardless who QB1's going to be. So the kid's a beast, and I don't think you're going to have a freshman. Well, I don't think there'll ever be a freshman who's a captain. But you don't have to have the C on your jersey either to be a leader.
no,
Those things come from different they come from different spots, different places in people's life. He's one of those guys. He's, as they would say in the World Series of Poker, I'm all in. He slid all his chips in. And that's the attitude that you need. There's a very good possibility he could be a starter.
Well, and all I know is from what I'm reading and from what I saw in the clips, he's getting reps with the quote unquote first team at this point in time, which I don't know if you can officially call it the first team because there's going to be all sorts of experimentation and swapping around that's going to go on. But I'm hearing nothing but good things about him, and he's got the energy, he's got the personality, and he's the kind of guy that I think he's exactly what we need for this team. Because he has that energy level that is out of this world.
All of these incoming guys are the guys that we need for this team, and because they have all worked together. And when one of the recruits was on the fence about coming in because of our coach leaving, it's Coach Lee leaving. They all got together and they said, "Hey, we need you." And to me, that's what you need to win national championships. You can have a coach lead you to a national championship, or you can have players that lead you to a national championship. You know what? I'm taking the second part.
Oh yeah. Well, they're the ones getting it done on the field. That's just a given right there.
Because it's all craziness. You can't take away from Saban. He's a great coach. He knows how to use this. He's working the system to his favor. Okay?
Yeah.
And one, it's getting a level of player to play. And second, it's getting them to gel as a team. And yeah. I think you're going to see the reign of Alabama start to come down here. I think it's just a matter of time.
I'm always smiling, George, because one of my friends in here who is an Alabama fan, he's actually one of my moderators. He's probably and then Crimson Brave is a regular viewer. They're probably not going to like hearing that too much.
Well, let's be honest. It's a reality. I mean, look at the Patriots. They were dominant for years, right? You start losing players here, losing players there, and you fall from the top. It's about how you rebound. Notre Dame fell to the bottom before they got to the top, and that's even better. Yeah. It's not knocking a program. It's life. That stuff happens.
Yes, absolutely. And for those of you just joining us, Ben is under the weather, so guest co-host George Bashura from Shakedown the Thunder Sports is taking his place today. Now, the next position in the spring that I'd like to talk about is the receiving corps. Now, my opinion, I think it's going to be a lot better than what it was this past season.
I think it's going to be a lot better too.
Because we got one person talking about here in the comment section, Braden Lindsey and Lawrence Keys, and I agree. I think this could be the year that Lawrence Keys finally emerges as a go-to threat. We'll start with that.
There's a lot of wide receivers.
Yeah, let's see, because we got Lawrence Keys, we got Braden Lindsey, the speedster, we got. Avery Davis, who was a pleasant surprise last year. Kevin Austin coming back. Jordan Johnson, who I hope can finally see significant time this year. Not to mention our tight ends. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. A lot of receivers.
Notre Dame has 14 wide receivers. The active roster is 14 wide receivers and 6 tight ends. Okay.
That's a lot of options.
You have a lot of options, but it becomes tricky. Is because now you got to figure out how to work these guys into the schemes, right?
Yeah.
Jordan Johnson, coach is saying he's coming along. Coach said he finally figured it out in the classroom. Okay, and that's huge. Because that's another guy that people were barking about. Why isn't Jordan Johnson playing? Why isn't Jordan Johnson playing?
Yeah, to be fair, full disclosure, Ben and I talked about that all the time. Like, where is Jordan Johnson?
He had classroom issues. Notre Dame's not going to put you on the field if you have academic issues, right? They've had this problem in the past. And one way to fix your problems is to do things the right way.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I mean, we live in a society now where it's like, no, we don't want to do it the right way. We want to do it the under the table way. Unfortunately,
you know what? Can I tell you a quick story?
Sure, we got all the time.
I'm on a business trip. This is years ago. I'm down in Louisville, and I'm talking to the person at the desk. He sees I got a Notre Dame jersey on, and of course we start talking football because hello, I'm right across the street from Papa John's Stadium. Okay, and we were talking about college football. She goes, I don't want to talk about college football because there were players, okay? Let's just say that they said that they were doing work, but they weren't doing it, okay? The guy comes in, he gives a speech, and this person who was involved with him, I'll just say, he comes up, oh, it was so hard coming through here as an athlete. And she just goes, let me tell you. Just let me tell you. You can't believe everything that you hear. So right. She was fit to be tied because he complained about having to do schoolwork through, college and playing football.
Well, that's why it's called college.
Well, you got some folks that think that they can take the other avenue. Notre Dame had the cheating thing, and it was something not known to the Coach Kelly. Okay. And you have to deal with those things as they come up. But don't go flaunting around that you did all this hard work when someone else was doing that work for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the folks that are joining, we're not talking about any Notre Dame players, okay? This was a conversation with someone that attended Louisville.
Okay, exactly. I mean, I'm not going to ask you to give names or any of that stuff.
I couldn't give you the names. I don't even remember. I just remember the story cold because I thought it was funny about college academics and football.
Yeah.
Doing it the right way, and that's another reason why Notre Dame has a problem. They do it the right way.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts here.
So 13 wide receivers, 6 tight ends. My concern is how's Kevin Austin going to come back from the injury? He was coming back last year, and and then he re-injured the same foot. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. How much will that slow him down? How will that affect him?
How timid will that make him? Okay. So that's something that they have to work through. But I'm going to tell you, Avery Davis, he's that utilitarian. He's that consummate Notre Dame guy too, that he will do whatever you ask him to do.
He was a very pleasant surprise this past season.
Yep. So Avery Davis, Braden Lenzy, he's going to do good. I want to see what the young guys got to do.
Because you got guys like Chris Watts, or I'm sorry,
Xavier Watts.
Xavier Watts. Sorry, Xavier Watts. He was a 3-star recruit. Let's see. Yeah, Jordan Johnson covered him already. But yeah, let's see. I'm looking in the comments here. We have Joe Wilkins. He'll likely be in the mix. So we got all sorts of guys here to choose from. But of course, Michael Mayer, he's definitely gonna be a big go-to target.
Oh, in the tight end department?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys know that I don't call him Baby Gronk, right?
I want him. Yeah, I agree. I want him to have his own identity.
Yep. So to kind of keep it in the Irish family, I call him Baby Bavaro.
There you go. There you go. That's a good one.
Let's keep it in the Irish family at least, okay?
But still, to be compared to Rob Gronkowski, that's quite a compliment, though.
Oh, sure. And he's a beast. Let me tell you, he had his moments last year as a freshman, coming in as a sophomore, giving him another year of training and strengthening. His ceiling is going to be incredible.
I could easily, if he keeps this up, I could see him being a first round draft pick when his time comes. Because he was, I mean, last year watching him play, if I didn't know that he was a freshman, I could have sworn that he had already been there for 3 or 4 years. He was so ahead. He is so ahead of the game. It's not even funny.
So there's a question for you in the about who the backup tight end is going to be.
Oh yeah, I just saw that myself. Let's see. George Takis is still with us, right?
Yep.
I think he could be a good candidate. I think. Who else is there?
Everyone else is a freshman, sophomore, or sophomore, freshman, whatever. However they got it listed. Michael Mayer is a sophomore. So, I would say playing wise, your two main guys is going to be number 85 and 87. And everybody else will bring up the rear and earning spots and earning a role in blocking or something.
Yeah, because I was gonna say Tommy Tremble, but no, he's actually going to graduate already and end up in the draft.
He took the Cole Kmet road, which is very smart, by the way. He learned from Cole because Cole, remember, had that injury, right, in his sophomore year. He came back his junior year, and he says he was done. Same thing with Tremble. He had that injury against Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even that gets you thinking again. It could happen at any time. But if he graduates with his degree, if graduates as a junior, you can't fault him for that.
No, if he has the opportunity now, then why wouldn't he take it?
Yep, absolutely. I look at it this way: we all want a promotion at work at some point in our careers. He's taken his path. He's building. He did his time. He wants his promotion, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like what Sylvester Stallone said in the sixth Rocky movie. If you know what you're worth, then go out and get it.
Amen.
And
that's the part I try to remind everybody about when I see them upset about the kid leaving early or whatever, or a coach leaving. We all want a promotion. We all want to find a better way to make our lives better. And if his way is he's got his degree, he did his time, he's graduating, he qualifies to graduate. Why stop him?
Yeah,
it comes down to the selfishness again. You could be selfish and wishing to stay. Of course you want him to stay. That's my biggest concern about Michael Mayer. Is after his junior year, if he decides to go, because if there's whispers, he'd be silly not to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, people got to remember too that college is not the ceiling for these guys. I mean, yeah, we have fun watching them while they're in college, but that's not the end goal for them. They want to play in the NFL. They want to get to the top.
Yep.
They want to get that promotion like you were talking about. They want to this is gonna sound bad, but I'm going the blue chips route here. They want to make money and be able to tell people they're making money. that was probably bad, wasn't it?
It's not far from the truth, though.
I'm not saying that Notre Dame's doing that. I just,
No.
being silly. But yeah, the last I guess not the last, but the last part of the offense, I should say, the running back game. I mean, without question, Kyren Williams and Chris Tyree, they are gonna. I think they could easily be the best running back duo in all of college football next year.
Well, right now you don't have all your running backs in camp right now. Right now, you only have Tyree, Williams, and Flemister. Okay, you still have kids that are finishing up their high school year.
That's true.
And
that's true.
Going to be coming in, and once again, they're not going to get a chance for the spring ball, but they're going to get that rude awakening come the week after graduation. Okay,
right.
It's going to be, it's kind of like when we moved from Connecticut to Southwest Indiana many years ago. My daughter had just finished her year with, back in Connecticut, because Connecticut they finished school late, like the end of June. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Down up here out here in Indiana, they're starting school in the middle of August. My daughter, she only had 4 weeks to herself, so her summer was cut short, but that's what it is. It's life. You just deal with it.
Yeah,
these guys are going to have to make that transition, because summer school, you got to get the summer school in, because you got to get the hours
in. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because you just can't do it all with the practice schedule and the games. You can't get everything in during the regular school year, so you have to do the summer school.
It's going to be a big class. This team is going to have some really good running backs. Okay, we got the kid out of Louisiana. We recruited him right from underneath LSU. Okay,
I remember that.
So these are good building blocks. You have a pretty stout running back core right now, and you got Chris Tyree saying he wants a greater responsibility. Hello, he's a sophomore. Okay, and so you have this class. You have this class that you're going to have players on offense. Now, problem becomes is who doesn't get playing time and who takes the early exit through the portal.
Yeah, I mean it's a sad reality, but it's reality nonetheless. Because I mean, some guys are going to want to play, and they're going to go to wherever they can get that playing time.
Yep.
But we had one question. Regular viewer Craig Sebring wants to know how we think Tommy Rees will do in his second year as offensive coordinator.
I think he's going to have a great second year. The one thing that I wrote in my article post Rose Bowl, okay, is the best thing we could have done is played Alabama. Okay, they have a stacked offense. They're stacked at wide receiver. They're stacked at tight end, and their running backs are great too, right? The plays that they ran on offense, if Coach Rees takes those plays and he puts them into the Notre Dame playbook, people give you answers to the test.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you can get your guys to go play the schemes that Alabama plays, and teams can't defend it. And I'll be honest with you, Notre Dame's defense did a fairly good job in the second half of that game, right, of shutting down Alabama. I don't want to hear about people saying, well, Alabama stopped playing. No, they didn't stop playing, okay? Notre Dame defense got their stuff together, and they shut it down. Okay.
But yeah, I've heard that nonstop. We on the Alabama post game video, Ben and I still get comments saying that same thing, and these people act like they're so original for saying it. You know, it's like, give it a freaking rest. Why don't you just give credit where credit is due? We made the adjustments and we did what we had to do. And even Nick Saban was saying, wow, they are a much better team than what we played in 2012. So if your own head coach is saying it, why can't you guys say it too to the fans that have said that comment?
I'll just say that, Dwayne put a comment in here about how they took plays from Clemson playbook. You know what? There was a lot to learn. Notre Dame threw a lot at Clemson that game at home. Okay, Notre Dame threw a lot at Clemson, and Clemson was caught shorthanded. Okay, it wasn't because of the quarterback position. Their freshman quarterback did a fabulous job, by the way. You can't negate the work that he did. But if you take those plays that Alabama ran and put those options into your playbook for your quarterback to run, I think it takes you places. It's the ability to recognize and adjust what good offensive teams do. Not saying that Notre Dame has a bad offense, because I'm not saying that. If you could take what a dominant offense can do, like Alabama has, put it into your playbook, and be able to use it at will when people don't expect it, I think that's the next level for Tommy Rees. I think you had to give him the time to build the confidence. So Kelly takes the training wheels off this year, right? You still give him a little bit of support. It's your hand's not completely on his back running down the road without the training wheels on, but you're at a distance where you're able to correct. And I don't think Tommy Rees had a bad season. I think the Notre Dame offense has been great since we lost to Michigan.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree completely with that. It's been so improved. I mean, we've still had our moments where things haven't gone so well, but overall, it has been improved, and it's been great. And with Tommy Rees, people can't seem to realize that it's going to take more than one season to get him completely acclimated to everything. I mean, it's a big step. This is a very important position in the offensive coordinator role, and you're not going to have it all figured out in one season.
No, and it's a learning over time. Okay, it's everyone, as I would say, is you want a promotion at work. Once again, I'm going to go back to the human element of all this.
Right.
You have to get some type of experience. Someone has to give you that shot along the way to prove yourself. Okay, and then how you do from there is based upon the work that you put into it. Okay, Tommy Rees, in my opinion, I said this going back to the Michigan game. After the Michigan game and seeing all those faces in the press conference, something was wrong in that locker room after that Michigan game. Okay, that horrible rainy night in Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
After that game, the offense flipped. And when I say flipped, Book ran more. The playbook seemed to be different. Okay, something changed substantially there. I personally believe that Tommy Rees took the reins of offensive coordinator in training after that game.
It's possible. It's very possible, because I mean at that point, why not try it out? Why not go for it and give him the reins? Because that game pretty much canceled us out of the playoffs in the NY6. We knew we knew we were likely headed to a second tier bowl game. So yeah, let's get him his training in. Let's give him some free reign here and see what he can do.
You got to give the person a shot. So it's like everyone talking about Coach Lee in the same situation. He left for Vanderbilt. Okay? Think about this. He gets offered the job at Vanderbilt. Coach Kelly gets to the end of his time with Notre Dame, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you bring in? You let the guy go get seasoned with another university. Okay? Let him feel what it's like to go recruit and have to be in the houses and all this other stuff, versus instead of promoting him within from a defensive coordinator spot, bring him back in from Vanderbilt. He's tested. He's battle tested. It's smart.
Yeah, it makes it perfect.
Coach,
It makes perfect
I'll see you.
sense.
I'll see you in a couple years. Okay, when this is done. Okay, when the ride's over for Brian Kelly, I think he's going to have 3 or 4 more years. Personally, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think he'll at least finish out whatever's left on his contract, which I think is, you're right, is like 3 or 4 years.
But it's smart. You give Clark Lee the chance to go learn, prove himself, and then you bring him back as your head coach. Now he comes in as a seasoned head coach versus a guy with no head coaching experience. The fan base can't complain.
Yeah, no, there's no complaints there. I mean, what I will say this though, since you brought up that topic, when that time does happen, and Brian Kelly moves on, we Ben, I know Ben and I made a joke video about this, and I know what your vote was, but with Marcus Freeman coming in as the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame, which great hire, I think.
Oh, sure.
I mean, he hasn't even coached one game for Notre Dame yet out of that defensive coordinator spot, but there's rumblings that he's the next great thing amongst college football coaches, that he could jump in and be the head coach somewhere. Do you think it's possible that they could possibly start grooming Marcus Freeman to be Notre Dame's next head coach?
Did you see that written across my forehead as I was talking about Coach Lee?
No, I didn't see that.
No, I was absolute. I was in my head, and I've been saying that. I've been seeing the same things that you're saying. You hear people saying. This is where the struggle starts. Okay, people put a lot of things in one basket, and then they fail miserably. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to give. I know he's battle tested. I know he's proven as a defensive coordinator. But like everything else, being the head coach has a whole lot more responsibility. Okay?
Yes.
Folks, I love using these metaphors, sport metaphors based upon experience and what I've seen. You can bring the best player to New York Yankees. Okay? Give him the fattest contract because he was lights out with the organization that he was with. Okay? You give him the key to be the starter for the New York Yankees, and he's out. Done. Deer in the headlights look, sports psychology issues. Okay? It's true. It's so true. We build people up. We don't let them build their own identity. And then when something goes wrong, we treat them horrible.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
So it all comes to play. Like someone was talking about some kid that committed to Notre Dame the other day, and he said that he signed with Notre Dame. I'm like, no, folks, it's all about getting the story straight, right? And it all plays in together. Let these folks do what they need to do to get to where they are on their point of their life. If he verbally commits, it doesn't mean he's signing. Verbally committing says, I'm coming, I will play for you, Notre Dame. But until he puts pen to paper,
yes,
okay, it's no. He is verbally committed.
I've been that way for many years now, even going back to long before I even started doing YouTube. I got that same mentality with these recruits, because we've seen it so many times where guys sign their letter of intent but end up going elsewhere. I'm the same way.
Sign the letter of intent. Exactly. Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to get excited. I'll take it more than just pen to paper. When that guy's on the field with pads, that's when I'll get excited. But
sure.
because I've gotten to the point where I don't take guys at their word, because there's so much that can happen between the time they commit and the time that signing day comes. Yeah, I mean, especially with the guys that that verbally commit 2 years ahead of time. I mean, 2 years is a long time.
How many guys have Notre Dame picked up after they've committed to Alabama, LSU, whatever, or they decommit from those schools and they attend Notre Dame?
Yes, that's happened. That has happened.
It's fun because everyone gets so excited and because they have the star status behind them.
Hmm.
The question people got to ask themselves is look back to the last Super Bowl. How many 4 and 5 star players were there in the Super Bowl?
Not a lot.
You had Tom Brady. He was a late draft pick in
Six
his draft
rounder,
class.
a
Okay,
6th round pick.
so it's fun because we build these people up, and then when they don't perform, we give them sour grapes.
Well, and also, real quick, speaking of that, going back to the coaching topic with coordinators and head coaches, I think, in my opinion, the best example would be this: Buddy Ryan. Now, Buddy Ryan, I mean, obviously, he was a defensive coordinator for that '85 Bears team, but look at his stops before then. He was the defensive coordinator with the Vikings, who was that was the time of the Purple People Eaters. He was a defensive coordinator on the Jets when they won the Super Bowl, the third Super Bowl, and then he even had a great run when he was with the Houston Oilers in the early to mid '90s. But look what he did as a head coach. Not so well. Which just, I've said it many times. Some coaches make better coordinators than they do head coaches.
And here, and let me take it one step further for you. Okay, there are some guys that can coach college kids, and there's some guys that can coach in the professional. Okay, let's talk about. I mean, that's the whole Jim Harbaugh thing, right? I thought going to college level is going to be the best thing for him because obviously he had problems out there in San Francisco, right?
Mm-hmm.
He came back to his alma mater. Okay, but it's still not working. Sometimes it's just not in your chips.
No, it's not. It's just, you can say something's your dream job, but sometimes your dream job is more of a nightmare than a dream.
It can turn into the nightmare. It's all green grass and rainbows and unicorns, and then all of a sudden next day it's fire and brimstone.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Life
it's
happens.
yeah. Life turns out funny like that sometimes. Um, but we had a couple questions that I wanted to get to, if I
I've
can
been watching the same
find.
ones.
Okay, we'll start with this one from Craig again.
Are you paying him, by the way? Is he on the payroll?
Who,
Because
Craig?
he's bringing great questions tonight. By the way,
No, Craig has just been a regular viewer of mine for several years now, going back to, my own channel before Ben and I joined forces. So,
oh
he
wow,
he's been on the show once before. But yeah, no, he brings up some great topics all the time. Actually, we should pay him. We probably should pay him because he's kind of the third wheel here, along with Dwayne, and Notre Dame 2164 has been another one that's been pretty good.
yep.
And we have a couple guys who aren't here today, or at least not yet. But anyway, to his question, which player will be the highest draft from Notre Dame this year? Um, well, I
That
think.
is tough. That's a great question. Great question.
See, I base it off of this: who needs defense the most, and who needs offensive line the most? Because it'd be easy for someone to say Owusu Koromora, because I mean he had a great senior year at Notre Dame. He's a beast. So it could be easy for him to go number one. But then you got a guy like Liam Eichenberg, and there's a lot of teams out there that need offensive line help. So I think it just depends on after trades that get made, who ends up where. But my personal opinion first is I think it will be Owusu Koromora to be the first Notre Dame guy taken.
That was mine. That he absolutely was mine. Um, I also think, and I got to be honest with you, having participated in the Pro Day Media Day stuff, I got to be honest with you. I thought Dalen Hayes was the best of the interviews. He was the last guy to come on, and I thought, I mean, his body of work and just the way he is, I have high hopes for him. But I think what's going to happen again is I think you're going to go see. I have no inside. Okay, I'm going upon what I heard coaches talking.
Mm-hmm.
From their interviews post pro day. I'm thinking that you're going to see Mr. I like Eichenberg. I think he's got a lot to bring to the team. I think that Aaron Banks is another. I think you're going to continue to see the Colts and the Steelers. I think they take offensive linemen from Notre Dame, and I think those guys are probably a second, third draft, round pick.
Yeah, I could definitely see Eichenberg being a second rounder. And it's interesting, too, a few of the mock drafts that I've been seeing. Obviously, George, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. They have us take in the whole draft, all 7 rounds. They have the Chicago Bears taking 3 Notre Dame guys. Which I would love that.
Possible. There's that. It's like the Notre Dame. It's like the West Coast Express, Notre Dame to the Chargers, right? Mm-hmm. And as of recent, it's been Notre Dame to Chicago. Okay. I don't think that's far off either.
No,
I think that Notre Dame's offensive line reputation and what Big Q has done down there in Indy is what Notre Dame does. They put good guys out at O-line U.
Yeah. So, but I just got stuck in my mind of what it could look like having potentially three Notre Dame guys on that offensive line for Chicago. But
it'd be your team of the past. Let's be honest. That's the way. Let's see. Was it 85? With the Bears won the championship?
Yeah, 85, 86.
Those guys were huge. I mean, you had Refrigerator Perry.
Well, he was deep. The defensive line.
He was defense. He was defense line, but you have big, beefy guys. These guys are going to be big, beefy guys in the NFL.
Yes.
Yes. They're big. They're big walking out at Notre Dame.
Let's try to find another question here. A lot of them have been coming from Craig.
Well, I like the Pullian question.
I saw that too. Where was it? Okay, yeah. Could Brian Pullian take over for Brian Kelly? I don't know.
There's no reason why he couldn't. Okay, he knows the system. He does the excellent recruiting job. I mean, if there's a coach on this staff that knows recruiting, Pullian's the guy. Okay, I am still amazed that we have a guy on our staff that comes from a bloodline of a Super Bowl champion parent. Okay, and his father being the former, I believe, general manager of the Indianapolis Colts. He understands the business. Okay, he's well spoken. He does what he has to do. Okay, he knows X's and O's. There's no reason why he shouldn't be put in that discussion.
And I could be wrong about this, but I think his father was also involved with that Alliance Football League, wasn't he?
I believe so.
I think he was like the commissioner of that league or something.
Something like that, yes. They needed some guy with football smarts.
Yeah. Since I brought it up real quick, even though COVID cut it short last year, I think the new version of the XFL has had a chance and does have a chance to be something. I think when it comes.
Are they
back.
playing again this year?
Not this year, but next year they're coming.
Okay,
back.
So they're taking a break.
Mm-hmm. Because of the change in ownership and basically Vince McMahon sold it to The Rock. So I guarantee you, Vince is still somewhat calling the shots.
Oh, sure.
But no, they're gonna start again in 2022. But anyway, getting back on topic here.
I love you and your WWE connection.
Well, I don't watch the modern product anymore. I focus all on the old stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of that, how'd you like the Macho Man showing up for? I think it was our our Wake Forest preview for a game that never happened.
I saw that and I laughed.
Oh yeah, the stars have aligned.
Yeah, and you had the whole get up on.
Well, I wanted to get like the actual like the cowboy hat and the beard, but it was going to be way too expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, speaking of characters, I wanted to address this earlier, but I completely forgot about it when we were talking about Marcus Freeman. But when Ben and I did that joke video talking about who the next defensive coordinator for Notre Dame was going to be, we had three choices: the Iron Sheik, Gary Busey, and Kool-Aid Man. Now I got to know, George, what was it that you liked about Kool-Aid Man?
What did I like about Kool-Aid?
Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, Kool-Aid Man.
Because I'm pretty sure that's who you hinted at that you would have picked of those three choices. Because you said you made a comment saying you're quote drinking the Kool-Aid, Sean, or however you worded it, I forget. But I assumed you were voting for Kool-Aid Man of those three choices.
I'll be honest with you. I was like, dude, you finally lost it. I intently watched this thing to hear what you were talk about for the next coach in Notre Dame. And I did not expect the Iron Sheik. Okay. I did not expect Kool-Aid Man. And who was the other guy? I can't remember now.
Gary Busey.
Gary Busey. I sat there. I'm like, Sean has officially lost it.
Well, I did lose it. I was laughing like crazy.
No, you lost it that you've gone off the deep end.
Okay. Well, I think because most people didn't expect it to be a joke video.
Oh no, and that was one of them. That's why I'm like, you've completely gone off the deep end.
People have been saying that about me for years. I'm still hanging on. They haven't come to lock me up in the insane asylum yet.
No, but that was a moment.
Oh, yeah, it was. And the thing is, I was still obviously, we had to put the videos in after Ben and I were filming, but I still could not stop laughing because I already had the clips picked out, the characters picked out, and I still just thinking about thinking about a scenario like that where you would have these characters coaching. I was still losing. I could not stop laughing.
Gary Busey would not last one day. He'd be fired, and Jack Swarbrick would have him fired the next day. He may not make it through his first day because his press conference would go to hell in a handbasket. Okay.
Yeah, he'd start cursing left and right, and what do you mean I'm not qualified to do this job? Screw you. And then
he'd be the polar opposite of what Brian Kelly is. That for sure. And then the Iron Sheik, that came out of left field, but it made sense.
Well, it was just I was like, who are three funny characters that I could think of? And I'm like, okay, Gary Busey, Kool-Aid Man, and Iron Sheik. Iron Sheik, I could see how that press conference would go, and I'll keep it clean for the sake of the show. Listen up here, you stupid jabronis. I'm the Iron Sheik. I'm the defensive coordinator of this team. You listen to what I say, or I break your back and make you humble, you stupid-ass jabronis. Don't you question the Iron Sheik. Iran #1, USA Hawk.
Yep. Saturday mornings.
I loved it when I was a kid. I don't like wrestling now, but I still love the old stuff. But yeah, no, I just figured Kool-Aid Man would make sense because he could, if he's coaching the defensive line, he's good at breaking through walls. He could. Now we're actually talking about this like it's serious.
No, it was definitely a moment. If you were looking to break up the monotony to get people to put their mind in a different direction, you succeeded.
Well, the thing is, too, we're always about we're not always serious on here either. We want to try to give the people a good laugh, whether it's even if it's a bad attempt, even if it's a bad joke, we still like making the attempt to make people laugh. And we actually just in the last one of the last episodes we did, we kind of lost track at the end there, but it got to a point where Ben and I were talking about different events that they could do in the Olympics. And then we're like, hey, Ben, how about we create our own event? It could be a winter event, and we call it casket sledding. So we go sliding downhill in a casket.
Hey, if you get killed going down the hill, you're already all set. You just need processed.
Well, it actually got to the point where I told Ben what the cheapest casket was, and he's like, "Wait, Sean, you actually looked up prices of caskets?" I'm like, "Yes, this just turned dark pretty quick. I'm looking up prices of caskets."
Yikes.
But I'm like, we'd just be better off making our own, dude, if we actually did that. You make your casket, I'll make mine using like an old toboggan, and just all I need is some hammer, nails, and some wood and some flex tape. I'm good to go.
Yep. Hey, really quick to get the Walters statement. How about a drill sergeant, Sergeant Slaughter? Oh my God, that would be the great.
Listen up, you puke.
Sergeant Slaughter is the head coach and the Iron Cheek as your defensive coordinator.
Oh, good luck getting those two to get along.
No, that's good stuff.
Yeah, we're all about having a good time on here. It's not all just sports. It's also a lot of jokes and a lot of laughs too. Yeah. So real quick, we're already going on an hour and a half here.
You know how it is when you and I get together on this. So
yeah, so we were going to talk about some other sports at Notre Dame that I don't necessarily follow, but I know you've been well, you just said earlier you were out at the Notre Dame Georgia Tech baseball game. So
yeah,
how's the baseball team been doing?
First place in the ACC. Pretty nice sitting there, top the ACC in football. And as someone had asked their coach today in the press conference, they were talking about, did you realize that you're in first place in the ACC? And the guy's like, no. Coach Lanky's like, nope. I did not know that.
Just going about business as usual.
But the part you got to realize there is this is his second year. He never really had a first year at Notre Dame as head coach.
No, because I think they canceled all the spring sports last year.
They shut it down like a bad habit. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me to get out there today, I was actually supposed to be out there a couple weeks ago to attend my first game, and it rained that Sunday. They postponed it, and today, second inning, starts to rain. Oh. And I was like, I'm done. I am not going to ruin my new camera and stuff because I was out there taking photographs, and no, not going to ruin the equipment. So I ended up leaving the second inning.
Oh man, that sucks.
But they're a serious team. This baseball team is serious. 15-6 overall. Picked to come in last in the ACC, and here you are sitting on top. And I can see why the coach says I'm not paying attention to the stats, because guess what? A good coach doesn't coach to the stats. He coaches to the team that he has and tweaks as he goes.
Yeah, you focus on the field.
Today was a perfect example. The starting pitcher, had a little bit of a struggle in the beginning of the game. He didn't wait for the kid to go 3 or 4 innings. He took the guy out after an inning and 2/3. Okay?
Yeah, because he obviously saw something wasn't right, or he had a better option.
So he's playing with a different personality. And this team is just their feeling is, not sure if you realize this, but Notre Dame baseball is not used to a winning way. Okay.
No, I mean, honestly, the last time I remember, this shows you how much I follow Notre Dame baseball. The only time I really remember them being good was in the early 2000s when they did make it to the College World Series. When they did make it to Omaha.
Yep.
But other than that, I really don't follow them a whole lot.
So I mean, these guys are playing, and the coach says they were upset about losing. You won the weekend series 2-1. But it's a loss in the column. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So things are turning around. Our spring sports are not doing bad. So yesterday Notre Dame men's lacrosse beat number 1 Duke. Now I wasn't able to keep up with the game, but they won 13-8 over Duke. But typically, what Duke does to you is they hang back, and then they put it on in the end. Well, guess what? It didn't happen this time.
Yeah, Craig brings it up perfectly. Notre Dame baseball, softball, and men and women's lacrosse all ranked very, very good.
Yeah. So it's amazing. And the one thing that no one's talking about is the volleyball team. Well, typically it's not a spring sport; it's typically a winter sport.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, it's had spillage over into the spring, and the volleyball team is going to Omaha for the NCAA volleyball tournament.
And let's not forget, too, even though this is a sport that's not really talked about by a lot of people, but fencing, we just had
Fencing.
some a national championship in fencing.
Fencing has won the national championship, I believe, 3 of the last 4 years, some stat like that. And
And
as someone alluded to on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish media, the information they put out, well, it's probably from the fencing team. He goes, "We have as many national championships as another team on campus." I was like,
yeah,
"Oh, ouch!"
well, that's the thing.
That's
This
good.
is very good, very good point. It just goes to show that you know, and listen, myself personally, all these other sports like volleyball and fencing and whatnot, never in a million years am I saying that these are just wussy sports or anything like that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. These are finely tuned athletes here. These are some of the best athletes in the country, some in the world, depending on where they come from. Because I know hockey gets a lot of guys from overseas, but no, that's the only thing is I would say is you don't have thousands of people lining up to watch fencing compared to football. That's the only thing I'm saying.
No, and that's the hard part, and that's why it's very difficult for folks to read about it. Right? I'm a media guy. They've got some people that only cover football or basketball. There's not a lot of fans that want to read about lacrosse. This is the downtime for a lot of different places. It's because there's nothing that's not a lot out there about football. So, but my goal this year was to cover all the spring sports. I had started doing that last year, and then COVID struck.
Yeah,
And the problem becomes is your coverage becomes affected for women's basketball and men's basketball is because you can't write about a game, only write it through stats. I don't have the ACC network. And Xfinity doesn't carry it. So I
you should
can't
get
sit here
Hulu.
and write an article. I can't write an effective article based upon stats. To me, I'm a guy who looks at the emotion of the game and puts it into perspective.
Yeah,
So
so
that's why
we're
it's
here to.
important to get out to see those other games because there's things that happen in the game. Who would think, a guy being taken out after an inning and two thirds had a big impact on the team, and it did.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not there to see it for yourself, I mean,
Exactly.
so. But anyway, get kind of changing the topic here, but we'll get back to it. Craig and Dwayne both asked this question, but I'll put Dwayne's up because I need to put another name up there. Um, he says, George, have you heard anything about attendance being allowed for? I would assume for football this year.
There has been nothing. Right now, it should be, they have the statement out there and across a couple different platforms that, right now it's parents, like we'll talk spring game. Spring game is going to be parents, faculty, students. Okay, that's the spring game attendance. Okay, media credentials were sent out. I'm not sure if that means that everyone's going to get credentialed. We'll still be credentialed per se, just not there at the stadium because they have limited seats in the press box as well. So it's a question for everybody. For Dwayne, it's everyone's wondering what the attendance is going to be, and right now is until you hear any different from the university, it's I can tell you the reason that is. Okay, Indiana just went mask free. Mask free. Okay, the problem that there is that the county health boards are not are not lowering the requirement. Okay, the local health boards have more power than the governor does in that aspect. Okay, so St. Joe's County, which Notre Dame resides in, okay, the head guy at the Board of Health said, nope, masks are staying through May 27th. Okay, so it's a tough nut. It's a tough thing to put right now for them to put fans into the stadium based upon based upon. I want to make sure I say this correctly. Based upon the advice from the local health board. Okay, Notre Dame needs to comply with St. Joe's County. Okay, and with COVID still being a little bit of a problem on campus, okay, they're not gonna expose themselves.
Well, all I know is, I mean, there's a lot of time between now and late August. But if to give my personal opinion, I don't see it being full stadiums this year either. And that's just my personal opinion. I would love it to be, but I don't know if I just think for it to get going to full stadiums, you got to start getting going now. And Craig mentioned something. He makes a comment here saying, well, people need to get their vaccine shots like I did, my mom, my brother, and sister did. But the thing is, not everybody has access to it yet.
Well, and this is, I actually had this discussion yesterday with somebody. The vaccine thing is a very personal question. Okay,
that's true.
I'm not going to discuss. I don't want to change the tone of the show.
Right.
But it's a tough nut. That's another tough nut to get through. Okay. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see how all that stuff comes into play. But right now, you're going to have baseball stadiums at full capacity, Texas and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Texas, Wrigley Field has started to let people back in. Yeah. I think they're at like somewhere between 10 to 20%, and I think that's the average with most baseball stadiums right now. I think obviously college basketball, when it was still going on, they were still in the bubble. I think NBA is still playing in the bubble. Same with NHL. I could be wrong on that.
No, there's actually some. They're playing in the different arenas.
Okay, all right.
So actually, I only know that because I saw the Lakers versus the Nets. I think it was on last night, and I just happened to swing by it, and they were at the Barclays Center.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's the only way I can say that they're not playing.
Right.
But it's a tough thing. This is one topic that's got the whole country divided.
Yeah,
and it's going to be interesting to see how everyone responds. You could see that they've talked about in Florida and other states that they're going to have full college stadiums.
Which our first game is in Tallahassee,
and it's probably going to be a full stadium.
So it's gonna suck because it's all Tallahassee, regardless of how the Seminoles have done. It's always a hostile environment, but at the same time, I like it because that's normalcy gradually coming back.
I want to see that QB1 handle that pressure from that first game. That's gonna stay. That's gonna stay a lot about QB1, whoever that person is, coming out of that game in Tallahassee.
Yeah, well, and whether it's Jack Coan or Drew Pine, I'll definitely have their back. Again, I still think my prediction is still Jack Coan, but if it turns out to be Drew Pine, then so be it. Lead us to victory, young man.
It's about who gets the wins, right? Who's best suited to get the win.
Absolutely. But yeah, we were discussing some more of the spring sports. But yeah, I guess where I left off with that was, all those sports like volleyball and fencing, they don't get the credentials like football does or basketball, but these are definitely athletes who definitely work their tails off. And all I can say is it's something I could never do. I could never fence. I could never, play lacrosse, So so they even though they're not big draws, they get all the credit in the world.
Oh, no, absolutely. And what were some of the programs that other colleges were canceling, as the COVID thing went on? You heard about this sport being taken down, that team sport being taken down and cast aside because the cash cow, which is football, wasn't playing. And it supports those other teams.
Yeah.
But that opens up a whole nother it's a whole nother discussion about how you fund a product.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
in those sports, they can pack the EC, for baseball. They pack them in for basketball, men's and women's basketball per se. You know, um, it's all in a matter of how you. When those teams are winning, they'll fill. It's one of those things that people don't pay attention to it unless they're winning.
Well, and also Craig makes another point too. It also depends where you go to school at. He says, look at the West Coast; they are volleyball crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Even in the Midwest, they have some. The Midwest has some of the best volleyball teams. Women's volleyball teams. So
yeah, I remember going to not necessarily college here, but I remember, our volleyball team in high school, they were always pretty good for the most part. So
when it comes down to it, they're all student athletes and they're all doing their best.
yeah.
And it comes to accountability. And Notre Dame, they let go of their baseball coach at the end of 2 seasons ago. This guy came in and he's changing the culture. It's a great thing to see.
Yeah, it's great when you can have that balance amongst all your sports programs. It's really awesome because it brings a good vibe to the entire university. And even though fans are going to be talking about some sports more than others, I'm sorry, like I said, but like football and fencing, there's no comparison who people are going to be talking about the most. But it's still though in those conversations, the fencing program can come up and be like, and people can be like, you know what? We got a nice all-around university here. Everybody's succeeding and doing
And I'll tell you
well.
what, the women's volleyball coach is the nicest guy. Okay, I get an email after the press conference. Basically, it was a personal email, and the coach said basically after we get through COVID, please let me know if you want to come out to a game or a practice.
Oh wow! So you must have you must really asked a good question or something.
It's because we showed interest in his sport. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you. It's hard to keep up with all. I'm a one guy show here, right? And occasionally, Ben does his thing occasionally.
Yeah.
But it's hard to cover all the different sports that are going on. And it's true. Volleyball. I get a meeting. I get an invite to go to a volleyball press conference. I'm going to show the coach that he have his support. That he has my support. I'm not going to write an article. They're playing on the 14th. I'm not going to write the article until the 13th, the 12th or the 13th, because I want to make sure it's fresh in everybody's mind when it goes out.
That's a good approach.
By the way, this is unfortunately not going to be on TV. And that's a whole nother discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what your team's doing. This is what you got going on campus.
That's awesome, man. To make that those kind of what could be a friendship and have those kind of relationships and whatnot. That's that's really a very powerful thing when you think about it. That you show interest and and that coach is very appreciative of you doing that. That says a lot.
And with all the stuff I've covered, I've never got a personal email from any other coach. I did not expect to see an email from Coach Johnson in my inbox, and I will take him up on his offer, and I will do a better job of trying to cover his sport.
Because I'm sorry. Go ahead, George. Go ahead.
No, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you take interest. I mean, yeah, you return that favor, absolutely. But I can relate to you on that. I mean, I remember when Ben and I were first getting the show going, and we wanted to have guests on the show, and um, we never like when it comes to former athletes, not like this is nothing against you or Lisa or anything, but you wouldn't expect guys like Reggie Brooks and Irv Smith to be easy to be well, I wouldn't say easy, but easier easier to get a hold of,
Yep.
But we were able to get them, and they agreed to come on for an interview, and it was great. And of course,
Yep.
I'm sure you understand what I mean by that, because people like you and Lisa, you're more normal. You're normal people like the rest of us. You know
If
what
you
I
only
mean?
knew. If you only knew.
Well, hey, what goes on in your own life, that's none of my business, and
Right.
vice versa. But what I mean by that is you guys are easier to get a hold of, but you wouldn't expect guys like Irv Smith or Reggie Brooks or Clinton Johnson to just reply to a message that you send them.
Oh no.
You know,
Or it's like me being invited to the Chris Zorich show. Who am I? You know what I'm trying to
that's
say?
that's my exact thought. I mean, like, same with Ben and I. Who are Ben and I? We're not exactly on ESPN. You know,
Yep.
so
I
it's
have a passion. I write about it. You guys have a passion, and you take it to a podcast.
yeah.
My stuff hasn't been up to par because 2021 feels like an extension of 2020, and there's been things going on in my family, and it hasn't been the easiest first 3 months.
Oh, to this point, I agree with you. It's still been pretty crazy.
And it's not an excuse, but life. In we've talked about this before. I have the catchphrase beyond playing sports. I need to get my personal life in straight before I can deal with this stuff.
Yeah.
And the whole COVID thing has kept me from doing what my other passion. My sports office has become my work office, and I enjoy the fact that I still have these opportunities. Okay, but my it's kind of driven me. I want to get the hell out of my desk and go upstairs.
Yeah.
So my podcast hasn't been on since the Rose Bowl, but I got to get back into that. And when personal things or life gets in the way, those things become more important. That's
Oh yeah.
It's just the way that it is.
Absolutely. I mean, that's family is not definitely number one for sure. And as great as this stuff is for me to do, it takes a back seat to when I have stuff with my family going on. Because you can do a million podcasts, make a million YouTube videos, but you only have one family, and they're not going to be there forever. So
Yep.
And I got to bring this up on the screen real quick. Craig says, "Glad you and Ben are not on ESPN. They are big time Notre Dame haters." Yeah, I agree with you. I agree
That's a
with you, Craig.
business thing.
But
But his
speaking of,
but Craig's other point about Kevin Corrigan,
oh yeah, sorry, I'll bring his.
311 wins. He's the most winningest coach at one university. 311 wins at the University of Notre Dame.
And that's really not getting talked about a whole lot.
And he did it against Duke, which is the even better part because Duke lacrosse is like what Duke in basketball was.
Yeah. And another quick question for you here. This comes from Dwayne. George, what is your take on Notre Dame joining a conference?
Well, that's a great question. Again, it's another great question, Dwayne. I think last year when Notre Dame did it out of necessity, one, college football needed Notre Dame to play. Let's be honest, okay? Because Notre Dame not playing football, it's not going to work, okay? Who would they complain about? You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
but joining the conference, I think, was great. I think it made the ACC a lot better. I think you had teams that had to do more and learn to play better. I think it showed how good Notre Dame football really is, personally. But
Yeah.
as far as joining a conference, you know what? I've said this in the past, Dwayne, Notre Dame's not going to do bad things for Notre Dame. Notre Dame, even the way the campus is laid out, it has a purpose. Every decision they make, they look at the upside and the downside of it. Okay, the part that keeps Notre Dame out of the conference is the fact that they have this independent contract with NBC. Okay, and matter of fact, they had the contract with NBC last year, and the teams in the ACC made more from TV revenue. Or I'm sorry, Notre Dame made more money last year from TV revenue than they did in the past. Okay, but I think that's Notre Dame's identity until it becomes a point where Notre Dame cannot compete for a national championship, that they're going to keep their independent status. And remember, Notre Dame didn't always want to be an independent. They tried to get in the Big Ten back when Knute Rockne was coach, and the guys in Michigan are like, "Don't let these guys in."
Yeah, and look,
so
we try
to the story. It's not just Notre Dame being independent and being what they are. Is they try to get into the conference, and they were told the Michigan coaches and folks were telling all the teams, "Don't let them in the conference."
And we try to stay away from politics and religion on this show, but this is just what it is. This is well documented. Anybody can look this up. But they were turned away because they were a Catholic university. That's well documented. It's not me making a political or religious statement here. It's just a part of what actually happened. So yeah, we could have.
The flip side too is the fact that they were a darn good football team.
Yeah,
and they didn't want.
Oh yeah,
they didn't want these other teams did not want to go up against Canute.
Yeah, he was that good of a coach. His teams were just at that point in time just on. It seemed like on a whole nother level. I mean, I don't need to explain how good the Knute Rockne era was. I mean, we all know that. But the point is, because Ben and I still get these comments from clowns all the time that show up like, you guys are too afraid to join a conference. And it's like, no, we tried to join one. We could have been in the Big Ten this whole time. Michigan and vice versa told us no. So don't
stay away.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's ironically 1999 rolls around. The opposite is this. The Big Ten comes to invite us. And we turned them down. They're like, hey, no, we're keeping our independence. You guys didn't want us, 60 plus years ago. So why would we join now?
Think of all the great football that Notre Dame has not being in a conference. Okay. When you normally look at a Notre Dame schedule and the teams that they're playing, they are playing what seems to be the best teams. Okay. This year, Jack Coan gets to go up against Wisconsin.
Man, okay. Let me tell you something real quick, George, not to interrupt your point, but if they allow people into Soldier Field for that game, I'm making the trip.
I am as well. I'm going to do everything that I possibly can. I may have to ask for a room to stay if that's possible.
You could bunk with Ben and I if he comes. You can get the floor. That's okay.
I don't care. Marcus Freeman gets to go up against his old team, Cincinnati. Okay, now we're talking. These are good teams. Okay, Notre Dame's going to play Wisconsin. I don't care what happened last year. I'm throwing out the 2020 season. Wisconsin started off like fire, then COVID hit the team, and it was done.
Yeah.
Okay. Big
it's
Ten.
Still Wisconsin.
I still don't like the Big Ten's rules. And to me, there should be one set of rules for the NCAA, and it should not be a conference by conference. Everyone buys into the same rules and plays by the same rules. End of story.
Yeah, I agree. I actually hated it when all these conferences came back to play because I said at the beginning of last season, I was really excited. I mean, I'm always excited for football season regardless, but with all these conferences that backed out, I'm like, we have a chance to see some new faces here that usually aren't in the top 25 or in major bowl discussion. So that, as crazy as that sounds, these conferences coming back and playing ruined it last year.
Yep. So Wisconsin's always been a good team. But SC, when you go back and you look at Notre Dame USC, there was always something on the line for that game. Okay?
Yeah.
Majority of the time that's a serious game for both teams.
That's always been a season turner for one of those two programs.
In Stanford, okay? And then Navy. You know, to me the Navy one was the tradition. Okay, I'll be honest with you, it was the tradition. But Navy is one of those teams. They have those years, you know, that they play well. But typically Notre Dame's trying to go out to play the best teams. And that's what's wrong with college football, folks. And I'm going to say it. I've gone on record on Sean's show before, and I'll say it again.
That's fine. Say what you got to say.
College football is not the same that it was back in the 80s and the 90s, okay? You have these soft schedules that are played by these teams, and when Alabama beats up on teams in their conference and whatever, SEC, and then they're playing Division II school, you lose all credibility. Okay, Division II, no. That should not count on your resume for the college football playoff being a Division II team. What they should be doing, Sean, and I talked to Ben about this, and maybe even you and I discussed it.
Yeah.
They got to be looking at these strong teams and saying, you guys need to go to battle. Every Saturday, you are proving your need to be in the college football playoff. That's the way college football Saturday used to be. It used to be the best playing the best. You would watch TV from noontime to until 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock. And it was the best, strongest teams playing each other. Nowadays, you're not getting it.
And
You're not getting it.
And I think, you know, guys here on our viewership, our viewer list, you know, Dwayne and Crimson Brave, if he's still here, I think you guys would agree too. You don't like seeing, you know, Alabama playing, you know, a Jackson State or whoever week 11 of the college football season. I think you guys would agree with that, right? You want to see some better competition in that slot. But yeah, like, well, Craig even says it himself here. Sorry, I hate when the SEC plays schools like the Citadel.
But people then they give all this love to Alabama. You just beat up a team that is part of the United States Armed Forces. They're not at the same level. They still have to maintain weight.
Yeah. I know, Dwayne. I know last year you guys did. We're not taking anything away from Alabama there. We're talking, and we're not just picking on Alabama. We're talking about before COVID struck, when it was a regular schedule.
Yes. When the regular schedule, when these teams they play, you know, I know that it happens, but it happens on certain team schedules more than others. And then the same thing goes for Ohio State. They do the same thing. I mean,
yeah, when they're playing. When they're playing,
what lesson do you want on your cupcake this week?
Yeah, when they're playing Youngstown State and Western Illinois or whoever, the first two games, come on now.
No,
really, it's ridiculous.
And the first thing someone say, well, Notre Dame's playing Toledo this year. Well, sometimes that happens. It's more times than not that Notre Dame is playing a high percentage school. Purdue's going to be a great game.
Well, and the Toledo Rockets, I mean, they're one of those tricky teams from the MAC conference. But regardless of, even though it's Toledo, it's still not a FCS opponent. I think we're one of only two or three schools. Yeah, because I was gonna say three, but I just remembered USC's playing who is it? Cal Davis in a year or two,
something like that.
Yeah, I think only us and UCLA have never scheduled FCS opponents,
and that's credible. That goes to say something. You're not playing junk, and Notre Dame's going to be paying probably Toledo. They're probably paying Toledo to come to Notre Dame.
Yeah, because we got. Let's see. I mean, aside from Toledo, I mean. I'm looking at the schedule right now. This is all pretty good competition.
And these are all teams that are going to improve. North Carolina's not going to want to lose to Notre Dame twice after us beating them there last year.
Oh, and we're at Virginia Tech, and you think they've forgotten about what we did to them at Lane Stadium last time?
And we're at Virginia.
Yeah,
We're playing. Those are going to be big games on the road. So I don't want to hear people saying, "Well, Notre Dame, they played the ACC conference last year, and they beat Clemson." And I don't want to hear about, well, they played a backup quarterback. We talked about that earlier.
yeah.
They won. It's what everybody was looking for Notre Dame to do to prove themselves. Everyone had that game circled on their calendar forever, regardless if it was COVID or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But Notre Dame's going to try and go out and play the best teams they possibly can. And when teams lose, Notre Dame cannot, it's not their fault. USC's been downhill the last couple of years. Stanford hasn't been all that great. Okay? How about the years that Notre Dame is bad? You know, I mean, there was a couple of years not so long ago, we hurt their strength of schedule.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people forget, a lot of these games are set in advance, damn near a decade in advance.
I can't get excited anymore when I hear a game. We're going to be playing so and so in 2035, okay, or 2031 or whatever. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah,
Brian Kelly's not going to be. Oh, it's the Alabama Notre Dame game, okay. There's going to be no Brian Kelly. There's going to be no Nick Saban. Okay, that's the now game. That's the now game. But these are games that are inserted years ago as filling out schedules to make sure you got something to do.
Yeah, and if that program happens, how are we supposed to know that?
That's what I was just saying about. I was just saying about Alabama. That could be a big hyped game, but Alabama could have a bad record, or Notre Dame could have a bad record.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then it's a lopsided victory for one of the two schools.
And I will say this: speaking of scheduling in the future, Craig says we're playing USF in 10 years.
Yes.
Can we please listen? I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but can we please do a little better than South Florida?
That's exactly my point, Sean. That's exactly my point. It is what it is.
I will say this though: they
can be a great school. Something can happen, and USF is a great school in that time frame.
It's possible. It's very possible. But I'm more excited over the Florida Gators down the road than I am the USF Bulls.
Well, sure. It's because those are big time universities, and there's grudge matches involved. There's years of blood, sweat, and tears between them.
And I will say Craig is right on this. I mean, we do have Ohio State and Clemson both on the 2022 and 23 schedules. So
yep.
So that'll be nice.
Sean, I can't even talk. I the thing I talk about is I don't even want to think 10 years down the road. Okay.
Yeah, I don't like looking far ahead either.
I have a milestone birthday. Now. I have a milestone birthday this year that I'm struggling with. Okay.
21.
I wish.
You get to drink your first sip of alcohol.
I wish. I can't think. I'm like 10 years. I was like, I don't even want to think about being that age. I don't feel the age that I am now.
No, I don't either, dude. I mean, I feel like I've said this to a lot of people, and it may sound crazy. But of course, my dad says, "Wait, Sean, give it 10 years." But I still feel like I just turned 20, 21. I still feel like I just turned that age.
I still have that fire. I still have the fire from when I was in my 20s and my 30s. I still have that fire.
Yeah, I mean, I hit the gym all the time. I really don't drink. I really don't drink a lot, and well, I've always stayed away from dope and stuff. But I just want to live a nice long life, stay healthy, and I can give a few other.
To Walter's point, because I think the NCAA should stop allowing FBS teams to play Division II schools. Amen, Walter. Amen. And that discussion needs to revolve around if you play a Division II school, okay, you don't have a hope. You don't have a prayer to play in the college football playoff. You need to win You need to win games within your division.
Yeah, because
That's like the New York Yankees putting on the Binghamton Mets on their schedule. Okay, let's go play the Binghamton Mets this week, and still going to run for the World Series.
yeah, no kidding. I agree.
Or hey, let's have the St. Louis Cardinals play the South Bend Cubs. No, it doesn't work.
No.
And you can use that. You can use that any way you want. It's true.
Well, the bottom line is you only have 12 games on your schedule, and every one of those games is, it's like you're going in for a job interview every week. That's part of your resume, and it's like, do you want a weak resume or do you want a strong resume?
And that's why you can only hope when you schedule the best schools is that they are going to be doing their best.
Yeah,
we let a lot of people down. We let a lot of people down when we went 4-8. Okay, they thought that's a great game. It's a strength of schedule. Notre Dame's always a tough school, good school, football school, and then they went down to dumper. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only exception when it comes to playing lower tier schools is, I guess, if you play teams like the best of FCS, like North Dakota State, Illinois State. But yeah, granted, I mean, North Dakota State has had a run of beating FBS schools, but still, it's like,
I'll give you the better one.
I don't know.
App State beating Michigan before the
yes.
Okay.
That made them and how's it going, Shannon? Just saw you show up.
And guess what? And now they're a Division I school.
Yes. Yes, and I think the two other teams, Illinois State and North Dakota State, I think they're a step away from being a FBS school, but it's like, I don't know, where would you put them?
I don't know. But Coastal Carolina is another one of those schools. Where did they come from? It's all on the coach. The coach coached them up. They believed in themselves, and only thing that stopped them from winning their bowl game was COVID.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And yeah, so I guess when it comes down to that overall
and
argument,
there's people saying, sorry to interrupt you.
It's all right.
The long range projection. Okay, this is how silly college football is. They have Notre Dame playing Coastal Carolina this year in a bowl game. This is how crazy we've gotten with our predictions. Okay,
that's the way too early bowl projection, I'm guessing.
Yes. Notre Dame versus Coastal Carolina. And my nephew goes to Coastal Carolina. So who do I get a text message from? My brother say, "Did you see this?" And I'm like, I shrug it off, because it's just they can't get bowl games right 2 weeks before.
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say. But it's just funny. It's fodder.
What did they say? What bowl game it was, particularly in this projection?
I can't remember what it was. But it was like, I think it was a New Year's 6 or something.
Oh yeah, we'd probably get that win in the NY6, but still, people wouldn't give us any credibility because of who it was.
Once again.
Yeah, come on, it's way too early.
They played different schools, and in schools like Coastal Carolina, they need those types of influences. The money that school made this past year was crazy.
Oh, I bet.
I think they got something in TV revenue from their whatever. I think they got in $25 million.
Yeah,
what I'm saying? When you have a budget,
I think they're the Sun Belt.
They are in the Sun Belt. Yep, and they beat some good teams. They beat the Raging Cajuns. Okay, and they only called them They were supposed to play, believe it or not, the Raging Cajuns in a bowl game. And they called them both the winners because of the COVID thing. They couldn't play the bowl game, so they were co-winners.
No participation trophies. Come on here, people.
But you just cancel it. You can't say that they're co-winners or there's one winner.
Yeah.
You have to have the asterisk in the schedule. So the game wasn't played because of the situation.
Yeah, you just tell the truth.
A small school like that to take in $25 million in revenue, heck yeah, you can give your coach an extension.
Yeah, he did pretty well.
But these are the teams you don't expect to do good, okay? And then all of a sudden, in a snap, right? The lights lit, and now you just hope that they get better. Bring it.
Yeah,
It's good.
It's good for
the
college
sport.
football. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like we said earlier, I mean, all these smaller schools who have jumped to the FBS level, the Texas State Cougars, they're one of them. University of Texas San Antonio, Appalachian State, obviously the Coastal Carolina Chanticleer. They're the Chanticleers, right?
The Chanticleers, or as they go by, the Chants.
Okay, all right.
Because I actually interviewed the coach for another show that I was sitting in on, and my nephew came on with us, and I actually had to spell it out to make sure that I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah.
So it's okay to say the Chants.
Okay.
But the Chanticleers, they are the Chanticleers. Yes, it's.
I thought it was Chanticleers.
It's crazy. I'm probably still mispronouncing it incorrect.
Oh, Chanticleers. I just remember the movie, the animated movie Rockadoodle, and the rooster's name. He was voiced by Glenn Campbell. His name was Chanticleer with a club.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I think the character originated from, I think it was a Shakespeare play, and there was a character in that named Chanticleer. So I don't know. I really don't know. I'm way out of my league here on this.
When you got a nephew now that plays in the Sun Belt Conference, and he's taken the same route that you've done later in life, he's actually with the school newspaper, and we got him that exclusive with the coach, which was pretty darn awesome for his career.
Nice.
For the school newspaper. So, but anyone can win at any time, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Craig says their fight song is the Chicken Dance. Their nickname is after a British chicken. Okay. I've seen weirder things. I mean, we have a high school team here in Illinois where their nickname is the Corn Jerkers. So nothing surprises me anymore. Yeah, I know. Use your imagination on that one. And then
just don't try and come up with a team of the Evergreen, okay? I guess Stanford's done.
What do you mean by that? Done with
their
what?
mascot is an Evergreen.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I knew it was a tree.
No. There was just something in the paper about schools choosing a mascot, and they were going to be called whatever school Evergreens, and someone got a little upset about it. We'll just leave it there.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Dwayne, I'm not kidding. There is a high school team here in Illinois. I forget. I'm not sure which school it is, but their nickname is the Corn Jerkers. We also have here Wooden Shoes. I'm not kidding.
The Cow Tippers would have been better.
Yeah, I would love the Cow Tippers. That would have been great. And then we also have one, the Pretzels, the Freeport Pretzels. Yeah, you're going to run on that field and you're going to be very intimidated by playing the Pretzels. And their slogan is, "We're tough. We're you can eat us, but we're tough. We're tough to play." Who the hell cares?
When it takes too much to think about it, it's a bad idea.
Yes, that's why I said who cares. It doesn't matter. But yeah, no. With I got to say this before we wrap it up here, George, because I know we're going on 2.5 hours here. Who cares? Yeah. But speaking of opportunities, one of the things that Ben and I are going to do, even though our audience isn't huge, and we were talking about this in the last show that we did, because we took Easter Sunday off, but the last show that we did, we were talking about this, and this won't happen for a while, but we're actually contemplating making a Two Irish Brothers movie. Your first thoughts when you hear that?
I'm giving you my answer.
You think we're nuts?
I'm speechless.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
I can write the script. Can I write your script?
We already have a plot. We already have a plot idea in mind. We have a few characters created, and I bring this idea up because we have a part in this movie that would be perfect for you.
Awesome.
Yes. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to give away the whole plot because all we have is just a plot idea and some created characters. We still have to actually write the story, but who knows when this is going to happen? Because I know,
Don't take this the wrong way. Do I swoop in? I put you on the couch, and I'm like, Ben, let's talk about this.
No, your character is your character.
Don't tell me now. Don't tell me now. Don't tell me now. I want to be surprised.
Well, I'm going to give a hint.
Okay.
He is the keeper and the protector of something very important. But I'll tell you off screen what our idea is. But
I'm an Oak Island fan, so
well,
and I do believe in all that medieval stuff with all the different generations of protecting the covenant and stuff. So
well, this isn't really a medieval thing, but
cool.
it's a Notre Dame based movie. It's
cool.
It's about Notre Dame, but it's if I would compare it to anything what we have in mind, it'd be like the movie Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny minus all the drugs. But yeah, I'll explain it to you off camera.
That would be, I mean, if that's what you guys plan on doing, that'd be great just to do it as your show for that week. If that's your idea, and
premiere it and whatnot. Yeah. But like I said, who knows when it's going to happen? Because I know, Ben. I know Ben has a child on the way. He's also working on another writing project. Who knows what's going on with me? Because I work a lot and whatnot. But no, this is a long ways away. That's all I can say. Well. But no, Shannon. There's no Freemasonry. But no, we actually got to sit down and write the story. To actually make the plot. But we got an idea. We got an idea. That's the main thing for now.
I'm all in.
So yeah, it's another way to get the brand going and maybe get to 204 subscribers instead of 203, which is where we're at right now.
No drug movie documentary and or you guys chatting it up.
No, it would not just be like this. I mean, we'd probably start off like this, but then it'd actually be you would actually see Ben and me next to each other in person. But yeah, I mean, all I know is some of the names that we have for some of the characters. If that's Dwayne, if you want a part like that, I got a character that's perfect for you. He has the perfect name. I'm thinking of making this guy our villain though, so he wouldn't be like the Wizard of Oz. But
I like it.
So, well, George, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Because I'm all out of topics.
I think we covered a whole boatload of stuff. Once again, you and I get together and it's just like,
oh yeah,
throw it out and just go.
Yeah, you get a couple guys talking, and then a bunch of people adding stuff in the comment section. Yeah, the time slips away for you before you know it.
No, it's great. Thanks for having me on. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. It's always good to come back and talk to you guys, and it's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Once I get back to my podcast stuff, I'll have you guys on. I mean, I've had you on the show and have you on again. But no, everyone just hang tight. Notre Dame football is doing their thing. Let them get through spring practice. Don't worry about what you're seeing and, coming out on the internet, because you can't believe all that you see. Only thing that you can see for yourself is when it counts. Right now, they're just filling each other out. They're trying to figure out what their roster is going to look like, and that doesn't get settled until after summer camp. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
still a lot of time. There's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. There's
it's
a lot
all
of other moving parts that haven't even come on campus yet.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all just about working out the rust. That's all it is.
And just getting out there, the fact that we could talk about their practicing, that's the key. Last year at
Yes.
this time, it was no talk about this. Is the way we were all talking about is will there be a season?
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just gonna say that. So I mean, yeah, the fact like they're out there in pads working, great sign.
Only thing I can tell you is that I heard from a friend that practicing hard. If there's something that you want, a little tidbit or something like that, everyone should know is from what I've heard from someone on campus is that they're working hard.
And I think they
That's all you
should
want to hear.
because they should have a chip on their shoulder. They should have a chip on their shoulder. I mean, they unfortunately lose in the like we discussed earlier. I mean, they had a rough stretch to end the season. You know, everybody. Not only did they have the usual people laughing at them, but they had a good chunk of the fan base turning their backs on them. So yeah, I'd be playing with a chip on my shoulder if I was a guy on the team this year. That's for sure.
You got the right
But
guys. You got the right guys still there. So let's hope that they stay healthy because that's the key. And let's just hope that it turns into a great season.
I hope so too. And Shannon says, thanks, fellers. I'll watch the rest of the cast and catch up. God bless and go Irish. We'll be looking for that movie later, Sean. Um, it like I said, it will be a while. We got to free up some time here, and plus getting people together to film in person. But that's a ways away. So, but yeah, thank you everybody for coming in and watching. We always appreciate it. And George, Ben, and I will definitely look to have you and Lisa back on for sure sometime. Maybe we can have another panel discussion like we did before.
I think it'd be great.
All right. Well, we will definitely shoot for that in the near future. And again, thank you for covering for Ben this week. It was greatly appreciated, man.
Nope, good as always. It's always a good time, and we seem to tend to lose the clock, which is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a Sunday. What else would we be doing? So, all right, guys. Well, for George Bashura, I'm ND Sean 45. God bless. Good night. Go Irish.
Go Irish.